The stars had always been quiet. For 300 years, humanity spread across the galaxy like seeds carried by wind. They built cities on distant moons. They made homes on planets that orbited foreign suns. 17 star systems now belong to the children of Earth, and they believed they were alone. Admiral Park Do-yeon stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, the greatest ship ever built by human hands. He was 62 years old, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many battles. His uniform was simple, dark blue with silver stars on the collar. He watched the endless black of space through the main window and felt peace. That peace died in an instant. Every screen on the ship turned red. Every speaker crackled with static. Then a voice came through, deep and cold, speaking in perfect human language. Species designation, human, you have expanded beyond your permitted boundaries. The Valori Dominion claims all space within this sector. You have 60 standard days to submit to integration. Refusal will result in extinction. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning. The message repeated 3 times. Then the screens showed images. Worlds burned to ash. Cities turned to glass. 12 different species, each one destroyed completely. The Valori had kept records of their kills like hunters keeping trophies. Admiral Park did not move. His hands gripped the railing until his knuckles turned white. Around him, officers shouted and ran to their stations. Fear filled the bridge like smoke. "Sir," said his aide, a young man named Yoon Sung-ho. "What do we do?" Park Do-yeon took a slow breath. "We find out who sent this. And we find out how to fight them." 300 light-years away, Commander Kim Yuna received the same message aboard her cruiser, the Silent Thunder. She was 41, tall and lean, with black hair tied back in a tight braid. Other commanders called her the Ice Queen because she never showed fear. But when the Valori transmission ended, even she felt cold. She immediately opened the channel to Admiral Park. His face appeared on her screen, tired but steady. "You saw it," she said. "Everyone saw it. Every human in every system. 60 days is not enough time to build a defense," Kim Yuna said. "Our fleet is strong, but we do not know their numbers. We do not know their weapons. We know nothing about them." Admiral Park nodded slowly. "Then we need to learn. I'm calling all commanders to Earth. We will meet in person. This decision cannot be made over screens." Kim Yuna ended the call and sat alone in her chair. Through her window, she could see a human colony on the planet below. Millions of people lived there, families, children. They had all heard the message too. She wondered how many of them were crying right now, on Earth. The sky was gray with rain when President Lee Hae-jin called the emergency council. She was 55 years old, a former teacher who had entered politics late in life. People trusted her because she spoke plainly and never lied. Now she sat at the head of a long table while advisors shouted at each other. "We must surrender," cried the Minister of Defense. "You saw what they did to those other species. We cannot fight an empire of 3,000 star systems." "Surrender means slavery," said another voice. "Or worse. They may simply kill us anyway. Then we hide. We abandon the outer colonies. We retreat to Earth and hope they do not follow." "Hope? That is your plan, hope?" President Lee raised her hand and the room fell silent. She looked at each face around the table. Fear lived in all of them. She understood. She felt it too. "Where is Director Cho?" she asked. "Here, Madam President." A man stepped forward from the back of the room. Cho Tae-young was the Director of Communications, a quiet man who spent more time with machines than people. He was thin, with glasses that he constantly adjusted, and he held a tablet in his shaking hands. "You have something to say?" Lee Hae-jin asked. "Yes, Madam President. I have been studying the Valori transmission. There's something hidden inside it." The room went quiet. Everyone stared at him. "Hidden?" the President asked. "A second signal, buried beneath the main message. Someone put it there on purpose. Someone wanted us to find it." He adjusted his glasses. "I believe someone inside the Valori Dominion is trying to help us. This changed everything. The shouting started again, but this time it was different. There was something new mixed with the fear. Something small but powerful. Hope. Admiral Park arrived on Earth 2 days later. He met with President Lee and Director Cho in a secure room deep underground. Cho showed them his findings. The hidden signal contained coordinates to a dead star system at the edge of known space. It also contained a single word in ancient Greek, a language that had not been spoken on Earth for over 1,000 years. Prometheus, Cho read aloud. It means the one who brings fire. In old Earth mythology, Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. Admiral Park and President Lee looked at each other. Someone is offering us fire, the president said quietly. The question is, Park replied, do we have the courage to take it? Outside the room, Commander Kim Yuna waited for her orders. She did not know what the leaders were discussing, but she knew one thing with perfect certainty. Humanity would not go quietly into the dark. Whatever came next, they would face it standing tall, 60 days. The countdown had begun. Director Cho Taeyong had not slept in 3 days. His eyes burned and his hands trembled from too much coffee, but he could not stop working. The hidden signal was a puzzle, and he had always loved puzzles. Now the fate of humanity depended on solving this one. Chief Engineer Baek Soo-jin worked beside him. She was a large woman with strong arms and a louder voice, the kind of person who fixed broken ships with her bare hands. She did not understand codes and signals, but she understood machines. Together they made a strange team. There, Cho said suddenly. He pointed at his screen. The coordinates are complete. A star system called Theta 7, no planets. No stations. Nothing but a dead sun. Why would someone send us to an empty system? Baek asked. That is what we need to find out. Admiral Park approved the mission within the hour. Commander Kim Yuna would lead 3 ships into the unknown. The journey would take 4 days each way. They would have 52 days left when they returned. If they returned, Kim Yuna chose her crew carefully. She wanted people who could think fast and stay calm under pressure. Lieutenant Kang Min-ho would pilot the lead ship. He was 28 years old, the youngest pilot in the fleet, but his skills were beyond question. Some said he could feel the movements of space itself. They launched at midnight, Earth time. 3 small ships disappeared into the darkness between stars. For 4 days, they saw nothing but empty space. Kim Yuna spent the time studying everything humanity knew about the Valori Dominion. It was not much. They were old. They were powerful. They did not negotiate. On the 5th day, they arrived at Theta-7. The dead sun hung in space like a wound. It gave no light, no heat. Around it floated rocks and dust, the remains of planets that had died long ago. Kim Yuna ordered her ships to spread out and search. Commander, Kang Min-ho said through the radio, I am picking up something strange. A metal signature. It is too regular to be natural. Location? Behind the 3rd asteroid cluster. It is ... big. They found it floating in the shadow of a dead rock. A ship, but not like any ship Kim Yuna had ever seen. It was long and silver, shaped like a spear. The design was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. And on its side, written in old Earth letters, was a name, Prometheus. That is impossible, Baek Soo-jin said through the radio. She had come along as the mission's engineer. That ship, the design, the materials. We cannot build anything like that. We do not have the knowledge. Then who built it? Kim Yuna asked. No one had an answer. They docked with the ancient ship carefully. The airlock still worked, which seemed like a miracle. Inside, the air was cold but breathable. Emergency lights glowed softly along the walls. Everything was covered in dust. Kim Yuna led the team through empty hallways. They found rooms filled with strange machines. They found libraries of information stored in crystals that glowed when touched. They found a medical bay with equipment that looked more like magic than science. And in the deepest part of the ship, they found her. A woman floated in a glass pod filled with blue liquid. She looked young, maybe 30 years old, with short black hair and a peaceful face. Monitors beside the pod showed that her heart was still beating. She had been sleeping here for a very long time. The pod says she entered stasis in the year 2089, Beek Sujin said, her voice shaking. That was over 250 years ago. Before we reached Mars, before we left Earth. That cannot be right, Kang Min-ho said. The machine does not lie. Kim Yuna made a decision. Wake her up. The process took 6 hours. Slowly the liquid drained. The glass opened. The woman's eyes moved behind her eyelids. Then suddenly she gasped and sat up. Coughing blue fluid from her lungs, she looked around at the strangers surrounding her. Fear filled her eyes for a moment. Then she seemed to remember something, and the fear faded. You came, she said. Her voice was rough from centuries of sleep. I knew you would come. Who are you? Kim Yuna asked. My name is Han Ji-woo. I was sent here to wait. To wait for the day the Valori returned. She paused. How long has it been? Over 250 years. Han Ji-woo closed her eyes. A tear rolled down her cheek. But when she opened her eyes again, they were steady. Then I must tell you the truth. The truth about humanity. The truth about our past. She took a breath. You think you are the first humans to reach the stars. You are not. Long ago, before your history began, humanity built an empire that stretched across the galaxy. We were powerful. We were proud. And then the Valori came. What happened? Kim Yuna asked. War, a war that lasted 1,000 years. In the end, we lost. The Valori burned our worlds and erased our history. But before the end, our ancestors hid things: technology, knowledge, hope. She looked at Kim Yuna with intensity. They hid these things in a place called the Archive, a dimension that the Valori cannot reach. Everything humanity needs to survive is there. How do we reach it? There is a key, but it was too dangerous to keep in one place. Our ancestors split it into 7 pieces and scattered them across the galaxy. Han Ji-woo reached out and touched Kim Yuna's hand. I know where the pieces are. I have waited 250 years to tell someone. Will you listen? Kim Yuna looked at this ancient woman who had slept through centuries of darkness, waiting for this moment. She thought of the Valori Armada coming to destroy her people. She thought of the families on Earth and the colonies who had no idea what was about to happen. Yes, she said. We will listen. And then we will find those pieces. Han Ji-woo smiled for the first time. It was a sad smile, full of old pain. But there was hope in it too. Then perhaps, she said quietly, this time we will win. The countdown continued. 52 days remained. Admiral Park Do-yeon stood before the largest gathering of human military power in history. 700 ships floated in formation around Earth. Their commanders watched him through screens, waiting for orders that would decide the future of their species. We have 40 days, Park said. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the weight behind his words. Han Ji-woo has given us the locations of 7 key fragments. Each one is hidden in a different part of the galaxy. Some are in dead systems. Some are in places we have never explored. And one is hidden inside Valori territory itself. A murmur ran through the assembled commanders. I am dividing the fleet into 7 task forces. Each force will retrieve 1 fragment. We will meet back at Earth in 30 days. That gives us 10 days to assemble the key and reach the archive. He paused. I will not lie to you. Many of us will not come back. But if we do nothing, none of us will survive. Commander Kim Yuna would lead the primary task force, the largest group. Admiral Park would stay at Earth to coordinate all 7 missions. Han Ji-woo would travel with Kim Yuna to guide them to the most difficult fragment. Lieutenant Kang Min-ho received a special assignment. He would lead a small team into Valori space to recover the 7th fragment. It was a suicide mission, everyone knew. But Kang Min-ho did not hesitate. Someone has to do it, he said simply. I am the best pilot we have. His team was small. Only 3 ships. Oh, Nari, a weapons specialist with a reputation for impossible shots, would command the 2nd vessel. Yoon Sung-ho, the xenolinguist who had studied alien languages his whole life, would join them to translate any Valori communications they intercepted. The 7 task forces launched within hours of each other. Earth grew small behind them, then disappeared entirely. Each group was alone now, carrying the hopes of billions on their shoulders. Kim Yuna's force found their target in a nebula of purple gas. The fragment was hidden inside an ancient temple floating in space. Traps waited inside, machines designed to kill anyone who did not belong. 3 soldiers died before they reached the central chamber. But they found the fragment, a crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. The second task force, led by Commander Shin Yunji, traveled to a frozen moon at the edge of human space. The fragment was buried beneath kilometers of ice. They drilled for 5 days straight, working in shifts, fighting exhaustion and cold. When they finally held the crystal in their hands, Commander Shin allowed herself a rare smile. The third force found their fragment inside the wreck of an ancient human ship. The fourth found theirs in a cave on a planet with no name. The fifth recovered theirs from an asteroid that moved like it was alive, but the sixth force was destroyed. They had traveled to a system that looked empty on all scans. It was not empty. Valori scouts had been waiting there, hidden in the shadow of a gas giant. The human ships never had a chance. 150 people died in minutes. Admiral Park received the news on Earth. He sat alone in his office for a long time, staring at the wall. Then he stood up and continued working. There was no time for grief. Not yet. Kang Minho's team had the hardest journey. They crossed into Valori space on the 20th day, disguising their ships with modified signals that made them look like cargo vessels. Yoon Sung-ho listened to Valori communications constantly, translating every word. "They're talking about us," he reported one night. "The main fleet is preparing. They expect no resistance. They think humans are weak." "Good," Onari said with a cold smile. "Let them think that." The fragment was hidden on a Valori station orbiting a red star. It was a religious site, a temple where the Valori worshipped their ancestors. Security was light because no one expected an attack on such a holy place. Kang Minho landed his team on the station's outer hull. They cut through an airlock and moved through dark corridors, avoiding patrols. Nari killed 3 guards silently. Yoon Sung-ho read the Valori signs to guide them. They found the fragment in a room filled with statues of Valori heroes. It sat on an altar like a sacred object. Kang Minho grabbed it and ran. Alarms screamed. Lights flashed. Valori soldiers poured into the hallways. The team fought their way back to their ships, leaving bodies behind them. Nari took a shot to her leg but kept moving. Yoon Sung-ho carried her the last 100 meters. They launched just as the station's weapons came online. Missiles chased them through space. One ship exploded. Then another. Only Kang Minho's ship escaped. Commander Shin Yunji's force was returning to Earth when they encountered a Valori patrol. 10 enemy ships against her 6. She ordered her fleet to scatter. Most escaped into faster-than-light travel. But Shin Yunji's own ship was caught. "Go," she told her crew. "I will hold them." Her ship turned and charged directly at the Valori formation. It was insane. It was brave. Her weapons fired until they were empty. Then she rammed the largest enemy vessel. The explosion destroyed 4 Valori ships. Shin Yunji and her crew died instantly. But because of their sacrifice, the fragment reached Earth safely on the 30th day. The survivors gathered in orbit around Earth. Kim Yuna counted the ships that returned. They had left with 700. Less than 400 came back, but they had 6 fragments. And Kang Minho, wounded and exhausted, had brought the 7th. Han Ji-woo examined the crystals carefully. They pulsed with light, calling to each other. "It is complete," she said. "We can open the gate to the archive." Admiral Park looked at the fragments, then at his surviving commanders. Their faces were tired. Their ships were damaged. They had lost friends, family, people they loved, but they had not given up. "Then let us finish this," Park said. 10 days remained. The 7 fragments floated in the center of the horizon's edge, held in place by magnetic fields. They spun slowly, their blue light growing stronger with each rotation. Hanjiwu stood before them, her eyes closed. Her lips moving in words from a language dead for 10,000 years, Admiral Park watched from behind a protective barrier. Beside him stood Commander Kim Yuna, Chief Engineer Beek Sujin, and the other surviving officers. No one spoke. No one breathed. The fragments began to move faster. The light became blinding. Then, with a sound like thunder, they merged into a single crystal the size of a human fist. It hung in the air, pulsing like a heartbeat. "It is done," Hanjiwu said. She looked exhausted, older somehow. "The key is complete. What happens now?" Park asked. "Now we open the door." Hanjiwu took the key in her hands. She walked to the main window of the bridge, looking out at the stars. Then she lifted the crystal high and spoke a single word. Space itself tore open. The gateway was beautiful and terrible. It looked like a wound in reality, edges burning with white fire. Through it they could see another place entirely. Not space. Not any dimension humans had ever known. Something else. Something older. "The archive waits inside," Hanjiwu said. "But only one ship can enter. The gateway will close behind it." Admiral Park made a decision. "The horizon's edge will go. Kim Yuna, you have command of the fleet until I return." Kim Yuna started to protest, but Park raised his hand. "This is not a discussion, Commander. Our people need a leader here. You are the best we have." The horizon's edge separated from the fleet and approached the gateway. Park stood at the front of the bridge, watching the burning edges grow larger. Then they passed through and everything changed. The archive was a sphere the size of a small moon. It floated in a space that had no stars, no planets, nothing but golden light in every direction. The sphere's surface was covered in patterns that moved and shifted, geometric shapes that seemed almost alive. They docked at a port that opened for them automatically. Inside, the archive was even more incredible. Hallways stretched in every direction, lined with machines and displays and containers. Each section held knowledge from ancient humanity, history, science, art, medicine, and weapons. "My God," Beek Sujin whispered. She was looking at a ship design on one of the displays. "This vessel could destroy a planet. We had this technology?" "We had more than this," Hanjiwu said. "Much more." They walked for hours, exploring only a tiny fraction of what the archive contained. Park saw things that made his mind hurt. Time manipulation devices, shields that could stop any weapon, engines that could cross the galaxy in days instead of weeks, but in the deepest center of the archive, they found the control room. And there they found the truth. The archive was not just a storage place. It was alive. A great machine that thought and felt and waited. For 10,000 years it had waited for humanity to return. "The archive requires a guardian," Hanjiwu explained. Her voice was sad. "Someone must merge with its systems. A human mind connected to the archive's power. Without a guardian we can take nothing from this place." "Merge?" Park asked. "What does that mean?" "The guardian's body will cease to exist. Their consciousness will become part of the archive. They will live in a way, but they will never be human again. They will never leave this place." Silence filled the control room. Everyone understood what this meant. "Someone had to sacrifice everything. I will do it," Park said. "Admiral, no." Beek Sujin grabbed his arm. "We need you. The fleet needs you. The fleet needs the archive more." Park gently removed her hand. "I am 62 years old. I have lived a full life. I have no family, no children. But every person on Earth is my responsibility. If my sacrifice can save them, then it is not a sacrifice at all. It is a gift." Kim Yuna's voice came through the radio from outside the gateway. "Admiral, I am reading strange energy signatures from your location. What is happening?" Park walked to the central platform where the archive's core waited. It looked like a column of pure light. "Commander Kim," he said, "I am giving you a gift. Use it well." He stepped into the light. The pain was beyond anything he had ever known. His body dissolved, cell by cell, molecule by molecule. But his mind expanded. He could feel the archive opening to him like a flower. He could see everything it contained. Every weapon, every ship, every piece of knowledge, and he could see beyond. He could see the Valori fleet approaching Earth. He could count their ships. He could hear their communications. He understood their weaknesses. When Park spoke again, his voice came from every speaker on every human ship simultaneously. "I'm still here," he said. The words echoed across the fleet, across human space, across all 17 colonies. "I can see everything now. I know how we can win. I know their weaknesses. I know their fears." The archive began to transfer its gifts. Ship designs flooded human computers. Weapon plans downloaded to military stations. Medical knowledge flowed to hospitals. 1,000 years of lost technology poured into humanity's hands like water from a broken dam. Commander Kim Yuna stood on the bridge of her ship, tears running down her face. "Admiral," she said, "can you hear me?" "I hear everything, Commander." Park's voice was strange now, larger somehow. "The Valori will arrive in 5 days. We have much work to do." "And Kim Yuna, you are Fleet Admiral now. Lead our people well." Kim Yuna wiped her eyes and straightened her uniform. "All ships," she said, her voice steady, "begin downloading archive data immediately. We have 5 days to prepare. The Valori want to send us a message of death. Let us prepare a message of our own." Across human space, the work began. The Valori Armada arrived on the 60th day, exactly as promised. 10,000 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. They were massive vessels, black and gold, covered in weapons that had destroyed 12 species before humanity. Their commander, a creature named Voss, who had never known defeat, looked at the small blue planet called Earth and felt satisfaction. This would be easy. It always was. "Open communications," Voss ordered. "Let them hear their death sentence." But before the Valori could speak, a human voice filled their channels. It spoke in their own language, perfect and clear. "Valori Dominion? This is Fleet Admiral Kim Yuna of the United Earth Fleet. We have a message for you." Voss laughed. "A message? What message could these primitive creatures possibly have?" Then the human fleet appeared. They rose from behind Earth's moon, from the shadows of asteroids, from places the Valori had not thought to look. 400 ships, but they looked different now, sleek, powerful, armed with weapons that glowed with ancient light. The Valori sensors could not understand what they were seeing. "Impossible," Voss whispered. Kim Yuna's voice continued. But now it was broadcast on every frequency, to every ship in the Valori fleet and beyond, to every species across the Dominion's 3,000 systems. "We are the children of those you thought you destroyed. 10,000 years ago you burned our worlds and erased our history. You believed we were gone forever. You were wrong." The human fleet moved into formation. Each ship knew exactly where to go. Admiral Park's consciousness guided them from the archive, seeing the battlefield like a god, knowing exactly what the Valori would do before they did it. "We remember what you once were," Kim Yuna continued. "Liberators, heroes, you freed the galaxy from tyrants once. But somewhere across the centuries, you became the very thing you fought against. We know there are Valori who still remember the old ways, who are ashamed of what your empire has become." Voss screamed orders. The Valori fleet opened fire. Thousands of missiles and energy beams raced toward the human ships. It should have been a slaughter. The human shields held ancient technology, lost for 10,000 years, turned the Valori weapons into nothing but light. The human ships did not even shake. Then they fired back. Lieutenant Kang Minho led the first attack wing. His leg was still injured from the mission into Valori space, but he did not care. His ship moved through the enemy formation like water through rocks. Behind him, 50 fighters followed, their weapons tearing through Valori armor. "Oh, Nari commanded a destroyer now, a gift from the archive." Her ship's main gun fired once and cut a Valori battleship in half. She fired again. Another ship died. She was smiling. This is for Commander Shin, she said. And for everyone else you have killed? The battle raged for hours. Human ships fell, but for everyone they lost, they destroyed 10 Valori vessels. Park's voice guided them constantly, telling them where to strike, where to defend, where the enemy was weakest. Left flank, Section 7, pull back. Right formation, advance 30 degrees. Kang Min-ho, there is a gap in their command ship's shields. Take it, Kang Min-ho saw it. A tiny opening in the enemy flagship's defenses, visible for only seconds. He pushed his ship to maximum speed and flew directly into the gap. His weapons fired at point-blank range. The explosion was enormous. The Valori flagship broke apart. Voss died screaming, and then something unexpected happened. Some Valori ships stopped firing. They turned on their own fleet. Kim Yuna's message had reached them. These were the disillusioned ones, the warriors who remembered what their ancestors had been, who hated what the Dominion had become. They chose this moment to fight back. The Valori armada fractured. Ships that had served together for centuries now fought each other. Chaos spread through their formation like fire. Kim Yuna watched from her bridge. Tears ran down her face, but her voice remained steady. All human ships, cease fire on Valori vessels showing white lights. They are allies now. Focus on the remaining hostile forces. The battle ended 2 hours later. The Valori fleet was broken. Thousands of their ships had been destroyed. Thousands more had surrendered or joined the rebellion. The survivors retreated into faster-than-light travel, fleeing back to their empire with news that would shake the Dominion to its core. Humanity had won on the bridge of her flagship. Kim Yuna finally allowed herself to sit down. Her body ached. Her mind was exhausted. But when she looked at Earth through her window, still blue and green and alive, she felt something she had not felt in 60 days. Peace. Admiral Park's voice spoke softly through the ship's speakers. You did well, Fleet Admiral. We lost so many, she said. Yes, and their sacrifice means something. It means humanity survives. It means freedom for species who have known only chains for thousands of years. Han Jiwoo entered the bridge. She looked different now, younger somehow, as if winning had taken years off her face. She stood beside Kim Yuna and looked at the stars. This is only the beginning, Han Jiwoo said. The Valori Dominion will not forget this defeat. They will return. Let them come, Kim Yuna replied. We will be ready. Park's voice spoke again, echoing through every human ship, every colony, every city on Earth. Today we sent a message to the galaxy. Not with words, but with our actions. We told them that humanity does not surrender. We do not bow. We do not forget. We are the children of Earth, and we will never stop fighting for our place among the stars. On Earth, people poured into the streets. They cheered and cried and held each other. The war was not over, everyone knew that. But for this moment, for this single precious day, they were alive. They were free. And across the galaxy, other species heard the story of what humanity had done. Species that had lived under Valori rule for generations. Species that had forgotten what freedom felt like. They heard about the small blue planet that had refused to die, and something stirred in their hearts. Hope. In the archive, Admiral Park Do-yeon felt it all. Every cheer, every tear, every heart beating with new courage. He was no longer human, not really. But he was still part of humanity. He always would be. What happens now? Kim Yuna asked him. Now, Park said, we rebuild. We prepare. And we show the galaxy what humanity can become when we stand together. Outside the window, the sun rose over Earth. A new day began. The first day of humanity's new future. The message had been delivered, and the galaxy would never be the same.